16 Natural Physiological Laws of Orthopathy. 1. Life's Great Law. Each living cell of the organized body self-preserves, sustained by inherent force within the organism called vital force. The success of each living organism, whether simple or complex, cells act directly proportional to the amount of its life force and inversely proportional to the degree of its activity. 2. The law of order. Living organisms self-maintain, self-direct, self-repair, self-defend, and self-heal. 3. The law of action. When action occurs in living organisms resulting from extraneous influences, the action gets ascribed to the living thing which has power of action and not the lifeless inert. 4. Law of power. The power employed and consequently expended in any vital or medicinal action exists as vital power, power from within and not from without. 5. The law of distribution. The power of the body, whether great or little, distributes in a manner proportionate to the importance of needs of the various organs and tissues of the body. 6. The law of conservation, or the law of autolysis. When nutritive abstinence gets affected, the living organism's reserves autolyze, breakdown of all or part of a cell tissue by self-produced enzymes in the inverse order of their usefulness, which toxic substances eliminate. 7. The law of limitation. Whenever and wherever the expenditure of vital power has advanced so far that a fatal exhaustion is imminent, a check gets put upon the unnecessary expenditure of power, and the organism rebels against the further use of even an accustomed stimulant. 8. The law of special economy. The vital organism, under favorable conditions, stores up all excess of vital funds above the current expenditures as reserve funds to get employed in a time of special need. 9. The law of vital accommodation. The response of the vital organism to external stimuli based upon self-preservative instincts which adapt or accommodate influences it cannot destroy or control. The organism's ability to adapt and tolerate necessarily to sustain life in the face of adversity prolong life. 10. The law of stimulation or dual effect. When toxic or irritating agents act on living organisms, the body puts forth vital resistance, manifesting itself in accelerated action but impaired. The resistance diminishes the bodily power inversely to the degree it accelerates action. Increased action occurs because of extra expenditure of vital power called to, not supplied, by the stimulation process. Consequently, diminished available power supplied by this amount applies directly to the use of drugs and medicinals, as well as the effects of toxic herbs and many of our condiments. The drugs and herbs may stimulate body action. The condiments may stimulate our senses of taste and make dull foods come to life, but in the end do not exist nutritional materials and thus get resisted by the body. 11. The law of compensation or the law of response. When action in the body has expended the substance and available energy of the body, sleep and rest happen to replenish substance and nerve energy. 12. The law of selective elimination. Injurious substances that get into the living organism get counteracted, neutralized, and expelled as fully as the bodily nerve energy supplies allow for by the means and of through channels that produce lesser harm to living structures. Common routes of elimination, urine and feces. Alcohol metabolizes in the breath mean the lungs get used. Garlic breath means the route gets used. Perspiration following an eating of hot peppers means sweat glands get used. Hair falling out from chemotherapy means hair follicles in the skin get used. 13. The law of utilization. Living organism constructively utilizes normal elements and materials of whether well or sick. No abnormal factor elements in physiology can provide value for the structure of living organisms, and unusable stuff in a state of health remains as unusable in illness. Doctors following orthopathy, natural hygiene, do not drug. If using medicinals, they use them but as a temporary expedient, not as a lifelong supplemental approach. Notable nutritional results following a Hippocratic tradition are medicine, our food, but to eat when sick feeds sickness. 14. The law of quality selection. When the quality of nutriment received by living organisms exists higher than that present in living tissues, organisms will discard the lower grade cells and make room to use the superior materials in new healthy tissue. Since each cell, including the bones, gets changed out over a 7-year cycle, when we provide superior nutrients, we gain a new and superior body on a continual basis. If one provides the body with inferior nutrients, you get sick and weaker and a downward trend. Look to the elderly. 15. The law of the minimum. The development of living organisms gets regulated by the supply of the elements or factors which exist least abundantly provided or utilized. The elements or factors in shortest supply determine the amount of development, particularly to fetuses. 16. The law of development. The development of living organisms and the parts it gets made up of get measured in direct proportion to the amount of vital forces and nutritive materials directed to it and placed on it. Wow.